Hello everyone and a very warm welcome. My name is Nick and I'm honored to represent the LSE German Society, and today we have a fantastic speaker with us. Dr. Norbert Röttgen is a prominent German politician, foreign policy expert and former federal minister. Serving as a leading voice in the German Bundestag on international relations and security policy, he has recently written a book on democracy in war, where he is exploring Germany's and Europe's role in politics during a time of global threats. Dr. Röttgen, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's dive right into it. With President Trump re-elected, Germany's government in a state of chaos, many people would argue, and Europe appearing somewhat unprepared for the upcoming diplomatic and security challenges, where do you envision Europe and Germany positioning themselves amid these global crises? What stance do you believe they should or indeed must take?
We are at a historic crossroads where I would say everything is at stake. War has returned, land war. The land war of former centuries has returned to Europe. Nobody did expect that. Everybody thought that war is a matter of the past and not of the present or the future. It is now there, has been there now for nearly 3 years, so for quite a time. And now we have the election of Donald Trump in the United States, and I would say he is unpredictable. I think this is true. However, to some degree, I think we should take him by what he has said time and again during the campaign. And we simply have to expect that there will be no further American support for Ukraine, both in military and financial terms. Perhaps even worse, a deal at the expense of the security interest, a deal between the greatest deal maker of any time, every time, between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, which could only be at the expense of Ukrainian security interests, and by this of European security interests. So this is a crossroads, and since there is only one Europe we have, and we are the Europeans, we have to jump in. We have to stand up or to give up. Not much in between. And I would say we have to stand up because it's our peace, it's our freedom, it's our Europe, and we have the capacity. What we have been lacking is the political will, and this has to be rectified. We have to have the political will to restore security and freedom and peace in our continent.
Thank you very much. And you've said right now that Donald Trump is very unpredictable. So are you saying that we're essentially engaging in some kind of political roulette, or how is Europe prepared for that force of unpredictability? Or if not, how can we or must Germany and Europe prepare for that Trump administration now?
No, so I would say unfortunately, and against the evidence that in any case and in any outcome of the presidential election, that there is no readiness, no majority among American voters, that America again plays the role in Europe in the 21st century America has played during the Cold War decades, because America is so stretched and challenged by so many problems they are facing, both domestically and internationally. And it started in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. So, and by this destroyed the European peace order. So there were many junctures where Europe should have waken up and should have prepared for being able to defend our own interests. We have missed the opportunity, particularly Germany has missed the opportunity to do so, so we are not prepared. Nevertheless, now the situation is there. We have to catch up. We have the capabilities. The instruments are there. We, in the first period, in the short term, we would have to purchase weapons and ammunition to support Ukraine, but then we would have to enhance and develop our defense industries, European cooperation. So it's possible, it's a matter of political will. The fact that we are unprepared is a big political failure. Nevertheless, we have to face the reality now and have to act accordingly and to be very quick.
Okay, thank you. So you said we're in a major turning point right now, which is obviously the case, and that Germany is kind of unprepared. And the one thing I wanted to talk about next is Germany's own defense capabilities, which have been a major point of discussion in the last years. Because compared to other players, the Bundeswehr is significantly under-resourced and heavily reliant on our allies. At times, at least most Germans would believe so. So we all know that some change is necessary, but what steps does Germany need to take to address this, and maybe how is this going to be possible, especially in a time where we've talked in the talk before about the German basic law and the debt brake, the Schuldenbremse, and I think yesterday Merz actually nudged in an interview that he's willing to open conversations about it. Is that maybe something we even need to do in the next 2 or 3 months to change the German basic law to allow for higher spending or even debt spending when it comes to our own German defense?
What we really urgently need, and what we will have now, because we will have snap elections following the collapse of the current or the former government, is that Germany as a country, as a nation, that Germans have to decide about political priorities. So what do we see in the time and the challenges we are facing? What are the most important, pressing, decisive challenges and issues to be decided upon? And I would say, in a very sober, analytical way, if we were to fail to restore peace, if we were to fail to make this war by Putin's Russia a failure, and as a consequence, if war were to stay in Europe, everything else would have to bear a massive burden. We would not recognize our Europe again as it was over decades. This will divide Europe. It will divide America and the European Union. It will take a toll on our economies and so on. So this is the ultimate priority, to make war a failure, to banish war from Europe again. And then, of course, there are economic questions, because without a strong competitive economic base, we will not succeed in doing effective foreign policy. So this, I would say, is the second priority we have to take into consideration. Once we have decided, we have campaigned and then decided upon the priorities, the ensuing answers will follow. Because if we decide upon this overwhelming priority, peace and freedom, then of course we have to do the funding. And one result of the famous debt brake in the German constitution certainly is that Germany is more or less the only country within Europe and even beyond with additional fiscal capacities. So there are possibilities to fund what is being seen and decided politically primary and urgently needed.
Thank you. And for one of the last questions, I'd actually encourage you to answer, maybe not as a politician, but more as a German citizen, because you've talked right now about how important it is for the German citizens, for the voters, to now really make a decision where we want to go. But it is still that debates in Germany are highly polarized, and the divides in public opinion about exactly these issues we've discussed today are fueling support for extreme parties, at times who have gathered a couple of percentage points. The coalition government has now collapsed, and not everyone would argue that Friedrich Merz has always emerged as the unifying figure for the country. So, in your view, where might Germany find that turning point now, and what needs to happen for our nation to regain its identity?
Our nation, and to resolve these questions, it has to be decided upon by our voters, by the Germans. But what is at the same time unreplaceable is political leadership. Mm-hmm. You can't expect ordinary people to deal on a daily basis with these complex matters. So they need to be able to listen to the definition of purposes, to political plans outlined by political leaders. So political leadership, which starts with communication, mm-hmm. talking to people, explaining policies, and then leading, is unreplaceable. It is necessary, simply necessary. And I have the trust mm-hmm. in Friedrich Merz to provide and to offer political leadership, particularly in the area of European security and foreign policy.
Okay. Political leadership brings me to the last question. Did I conduct today's interview with the next Foreign Minister of Germany? What are your plans?
Unfortunately, it does not, in the first place, depend on my plans. so I'm working for a convincing mandate for the CDU, and I'm ready to work in a team, and this is what I can offer, and anything else depends on others.
Dr. Norbert Röttgen, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate your time and thoughts.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.